upcoming events as well as the session closing. So thank you and hope to see you later during the session. You will see me later as well.
Next, we will be talking about the basic stuff about why YOTA Online was established. We have two main factors why we are keeping going YOTA Online. And first is, of course, that due to COVID-19 pandemic, all the YOTA events for this year and probably next year as well has to be cancelled or postponed. But still, a lot of youngsters around the world want to join YOTA activities each year, so we decided to create an interactive format where we can gather all youngsters on a regular basis to come to our great hobby. The thing about YOTA Online that makes it so great is the event circumstances, because it's really open for anybody around the world, online and free, and also you can watch it all time on our YouTube channel, HamYOTA all time. We're talking about specific topics, including a following Q&A session, answering your questions regarding the topics, which today is CW, as Philip told, and we also have the prize draw, as usually. Special prizes for loyal viewers after several YOTA Online events is going to be happening, so stay tuned for that. The event today will last about 1 to 1.5 hours, and the event is held every last Thursday of the month, monthly. And next to Martina to tell about changes within IARU Region 1 Youth Working Group.
Okay, thank you. We got some changes within your Region 1 Youth Working Group. Many of you maybe know because you're following us on social media. However, this October from 10th to 16th, there was 25th YOTA Region 1 General Conference. Officially, it was supposed to be in Serbia. However, because of the COVID situation, it was held online. So it was a general conference, virtual one. We got some great outcomes for youth working group. Keep up with the good work and activities to encourage and support youngsters in Hamradio. Sadly, Lisa Papa Alpha 2 Lima Syria stepped down after her 9 years working as a chair of youth working group in Region 1. And Philip Delta Kilowatt 6 Sierra Papa has been elected by member societies to be our new chair, and Marcus Delta Lima 8 Gustav Mike has been appointed to be our new vice chair. That's not the only change we got. We also got changes in TTT. Monty, Oscar Echo Free Victor Uniform, stepped down as a TTT coordinator. Luckily, Ottawa, Oscar Hotel Free, Oscar Tango was appointed to be the new TTT coordinator. So most upcoming emails you will get from Ottawa. And also we got one new team member, and it's Yantel, Oscar November Free, Yankee Hotel, because he decided that he will join our team.
So here I come. Hello also from my side. And yeah, as Martina already mentioned some people within the YARU Youth Working Group, you can see here also the faces behind YOTA Online, who's time. And today, besides the group, we also have two guests. One of them is Tommy, Hotel Alpha 8 Radio Tango. and he has been at HSC, and he's also part of the YOTA team from Hungary. And another guest is Gustav, Sierra Alpha 7 Golf Golf Oscar from the Swedish youth team, and they also prepared something nice for you, which we're going to see later. And yeah, of course, remember that you can always, if you have any questions or any comments, remember that you can just write it in the chat, and then we're going to answer these questions later. Of course, you can ask anything about CW, since this will be the main topic today. But also, if you have some other general questions, we might can answer. Just feel free to ask them in the chat. And also for this time, we're going to have a nice riddle. I will introduce you to riddle 1, which will be during the session again. Yeah, so if you're just listening or watching the session, you should be able to answer these questions easily. Okay, so the first question is about the Morse code and the history behind it. So the Morse code, or let's say the American Morse code, was invented by Samuel Morse and someone else. And we want to know the initials of this other person. So what are the initials of the second guy who also invented the Morse code? So if you don't know what's an initial, it's of the initials of Samuel Morse are SM. So we want to have the first letters of his first name and his family name of the guy who did that together with Samuel Morse. And if the second question is, if you want to learn CW, then how many minutes should you practice daily? Philip will give you like a short introduction on how you can start. And yeah, you should practice on a daily basis, and he will tell you how many minutes you should do that. And also later, Gustav has a nice DIY for us, and I want to know which route is he using in this and yeah, you will get a solution call sign again. So just answer these 3 questions, put answers, just stack them to. This will be the answer for riddle 1. Fill it out in the Google form. You have here the QR code, but we will also post the link to this Google chat. And today you can, of course, also win some nice prizes again. So for riddle 1, we're going to hand out a t-shirt. And for riddle 2, which will be later, which I will show you later, where you also have some more time to answer that, you will get a hoodie. Of course, in your favorite color, size, and unique. Remember, just write them in the chat, and we can check that out during the session and answer them in the end. And I'll hand over to Marcus, who will give us a short introduction to the CW history.
Yes, thanks, Claudia. So the history of CW, it's a rather long one. It's pretty well linked with amateur radio and radio in general. And things going back to the invention of CW still are in effect today more than we might think. And it's very easy to fill a whole lecture like this. Entire YOTA online session could just be filled with CW history. So I've decided to limit it to 2 parts. One being a short overview of the history of Morse code, how we use it today, and the other being a history of how we generate Morse code, so basically Morse keys, as those have also seen quite some changes since CW or Morse code was invented. So first up, the original Morse code. It was a rather interesting affair and also an impressively useless one, if you want to say so. Initially, when Samuel Morse invented his first telegraph, which we'll see later as the first Morse key, if you will, it wasn't really a key. The code only contained digits, and then Samuel Morse had a huge dictionary where every number, so like 3 or 4 digits as a number, mapped to a single word. So it was in some way similar to how Chinese characters work today, where like one character or one combination of characters maps to a word. And in fact, a similar system is still used for Chinese Morse code, where blocks of numbers map to words. But for many alphabet-based languages, including English, which Samuel Morse obviously spoke, being an American, it was rather impractical. It was also, it's hard to learn. It's annoying because you always have to look up things in books and so on. The next step was invented by both Samuel Morse and Alfred Vail. So Vail basically worked with Samuel Morse on this stuff. Then he came up with the idea of having not only codes for digits, but also for all letters in the English alphabets, as well as like numbers and full stop and some other symbols. And thereabout came American Morse code. You can still find it in some like very old books or similar. It was in fact used in the US about the 1960s. What makes American Morse code different from what you have today is that the dashes are shorter. So a dash is only twice as long as a dot, and there also are different pause lengths. So for example, an I in American Morse code, like it is today in International Morse code, is dit, and but an O is not da 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 like in today's Morse code, but it's dit. So the same as I, but with a slightly longer pause in there. In theory, that is made it slightly faster than International Morse code. In practice, it was extremely error-prone, even more so with undersea cables that were used on telegraph lines between Europe and the US. And for that reason, International Morse code was invented. But first of all, it started with Gerke, a German that built the telegraph line between Hamburg and Cuxhaven in the 1800s. And to write the German letters, which had some more letters than the American alphabet, he needed to modify it anyways. And what he came up with is extremely similar to what nowadays is International Morse code. For example, a dash had the length of 3 dots, like it is still today, and similar to word spacing and such. It also eliminated this different pause length thing that American Morse code still had. And then, as I already said, from Gerke Morse code, International Morse code came about. It only had some minor modifications. For example, the 0 in Gerke Morse code was a very long dash, and that got replaced with what now is 5 dashes, and also the numbers were changed. But basically, they only copied over the code from Gerke. This International Morse code was decided on by the International Telegraph Union, 1865, which is also when it was founded. The International Telegraph Union should be an organization very well known to every radio amateur, as nowadays it's called the International Telecommunication Union, and among all others also regulates amateur radio. International Morse code thus still is a standard for those that want to dig in archives. Its recommendation ITOR M1677, and still sees occasional updates. The last one was the addition of the @ symbol for use in email address some 15 or so years ago. So the other part, how did we generate Morse code? On the left here, you see the very original Morse telegraph that Samuel Morse built. It was a modification from an entirely different device. On the bottom, you see the sender. I guess it's a bit small on those slides, but basically there isn't really a hand-operated key, but instead you put up a pattern of pre-existing letters on a like rail, and then you move the key along that rail, and it then with the up and downs from the that are on the rail creates a signal. Or to receive a signal, there was a pendulum connected to a electric magnet and a paper tape going underneath. So when it was sent, you put the letters on a rail, and then moved the rail under the key or telegraph. And on the receiving side, it then drew a squiggly line on this paper tape. And that one could then manually afterwards decode and receive the message. But then, together with the invention of American Morse code, Vail also came up with the idea of a straight key. So now that you didn't need this large dictionary anymore, but could directly translate text, it obviously was more efficient to have a way for the operator to directly enter the messages as well. So that is why there now was the option to have a simple Morse key. That is the straight key as Vail built it. It still features many things you see today, like adjustable spacing, a spring to put it back, and a large lever to open and close the contacts. With telegraphs then becoming more and more common, it was very common for telegraphists to develop a so-called glass arm. This is in some ways similar to some injuries that like tennis players or other sports players might get, or people operating a computer for long times a day, coming from this up and down motion with straight keys. So it's not a problem for radio amateurs that, for example, only use it on, like at worst, on a contest for like 2 days straight. But when people were working in a telegraph office for 10 hours a day, the straight keys wasn't the healthiest option. For this reason, other developments started. The first improvement was having a key that's sideways. Nowadays, this way of doing things is called sideswiper or a QWERTY key. So basically all that is turn the Morse key by 90 degrees. So instead of up and down, it went left and right, with a 0 position in the middle and both left and right to close the contacts. Supposedly this was invented in 1888. There is some doubt about when that when the sideways key actually was invented, but that's the next step that made giving Morse code for extended periods of time a lot healthier, at least. And supposedly also a bit faster. The next step was then the semi-automatic key, or called a bug. Most connected with bug is probably the company Vibroplex that still makes Morse keys today. However, a few months before Vibroplex published their bug, Coffee built a vertical Morse key that functioned in the same way. So you have a single lever, move it in one direction, and it behaves like a normal straight key. So as long as it press, it creates a signal. So you still had to manually do the dashes. But when you moved it in the other direction, you had a pendulum, and that pendulum then created the dits. So the dits were automatic, the DAS were still manual. And that then is how Morse code was given for quite a few years, until eventually the fully automatic key came around 1940. Melvin Hansen built the Mellehen-Wayland telegraph key. That is extremely close to what we still use today in many cases. So you had 2 pedals, one for dits, one for DAS. But the difference is electronics obviously weren't that far in the 1940s, so they were still generated manually, like mechanically. So as you can see on this picture, you had a lot of set screws, so this key was extremely complicated to use and adjust. But it had many things we had before. One side dits, so the pendulum swings and then generates the dits. On the other side, the pendulum swings slower and it creates a DAS. And that basically set the model for today's iambic keyers and so on. Going further, of course, the last introduction to modern keying was squeeze keying. So on a double key, you'd press both left and right, and it would alternate dit da, dit da, dit da. I've chosen to omit it because it doesn't look as fancy, because those are basically all realized with electronics, and electronics don't look as interesting and fancy as this huge pendulum monstrosity. So you just had two pedals, 2 contacts, and then a bunch of electronics doing all the keying. And that's basically how manual keying is still done today. Of course, now is computer keying, but that is not very interesting to show in pictures, as it's just a huge box of electronics without even any single part. So yeah, that's a short overview of CW history, at least in terms of the code and the keying. There are a lot more things that could be talked about, but yeah, I've decided to omit it for now, as it just would fill the entire evening.
Okay, then we go ahead. If you have any more questions, just feel free to ask them, as we just heard about the history. So tag us on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, or just write down any question into the chat. We are more than happy to answer these questions later in this session. So we're gonna go ahead with how to learn CW. So how to learn CW? Why did I learn CW probably at first? So I was a little boy back some years ago. I was like 11 or 12 years old, operating with an educational call sign in Germany. So not even having my own license, always supervised. And I was always wondering what this dits and das, so long and short, sounds from the radio were. And all the colleagues from the local club worked all those amazing DX stations all around the world, because they have been only active in CW, which is Morse code. And I decided for myself that I wanted to learn this kind of language. So I asked a member of the local club if he wants to introduce me into CW, and he said like, yeah, why not? Let's do a Morse code. And this is a Morse code course, and this is what we're gonna talk about now, how to learn CW. So basically you need 6 steps, which are the most important. So this is kind of a best practice example now. Of course, everybody can learn it how they wanted to, but this worked for me quite well. So I'm doing CW for the last 11 or 12 years, and that's really my favorite mode. So I want to go shortly through these and then explain a bit more. So first step, as I told you, was grab an Elma. Elma is called a guy or a girl who knows CW already, and takes you on the hand and explains what it is, and gets you through the process of learning the code. Second point is have fun. So this is the most important thing. Have fun while doing this. It's like learning a new language, but you have to like it to accept that this code is something new, and you will benefit later from it. So point 3, feel the melody of CW. Like do not learn the codes while just counting the dits and das. This is not productive. So feel the melody, and it's like music. 4 is write down letters. I will come back to this later. 5 is visualize in front of your eyes and get on the air as the last one. So to start with it, do as many repetitions rates as possible, but maximum a day, 4 times 10 minutes maximum. This is better than 1 times 1 hour, because you have short-term memory in your head, and with this 4 times 10 minutes, it's easier to remember new characters. Once you get them into the short-term memory, you will get them into the long-term memory afterwards very, very easy. If it runs more smoothly, you can adjust this times to 3 times 50 minutes a day or whatever. The thing here is do it constantly. Do it every day, and don't say, let's don't do it this day today. I will do it tomorrow. This is, in my opinion, a wrong approach. Of course, you can do a day off or two, but yeah, be constant in learning the code. Practice new characters first. This is fresh in your head. So if you start a new session, so say session 2, 3, 4 per day, start with the characters you know already, and then revise the others at the end. So you will achieve easily 3 to 4 characters per week. Yeah, practice every day. Try to keep this pace. If you're bored, you can even do more sessions per day. So don't have 3 or 4, or start with 2 or 3. You can easily catch up with more, but don't do too much and don't overpace yourself. Yeah, continuity is the thing here. You will never learn Morse code if you don't do this. So really, if you want to learn CW, keep the pace and do it at least 1 session a day. Yeah, and if you keep going with the learning of the code, you will probably be able to do a standard QSO after approximately 6 months. So this is what I did. After 6 months, I was able to do a standard QSO, like calling a station with my call sign, sending by hand, and receiving a 599 report and send it. So I was able to receive my call sign and receive the report. It's always good to have groups rather than learning alone, because this keeps up the spirit a lot. We have been, I think, 5 or 6 people within the course then, and we had one good Elma who supported us really, really well and treated us really, really well, and yeah, learned us the stuff. By the way, if you have groups like this, don't only focus on sending or receiving the code. Build a Morse key yourself and understand what it is. Do some history, as we have heard before, so you have some background. Watch some funny videos, because there are some really funny videos around, like how they learned CW back in the days in the US Navy or whatever. So this brings balance into the game of learning Morse code. Then we're gonna go to how much words per minute you should start off with. So test it with about 12 WPM. WPM is the abbreviation for words per minute, and increase it up to around 20 words per minute as a target. So start with 12 and proceed with 20. Words per minute is like the standard thing you describe how fast the Morse code is going. So 12 WPM is 60 characters per minute. Yeah, as I told you, listen to the melody, because it feels like music. Don't learn dots and dashes. This is the wrong approach to it. If you can count dots and dashes, you have to increase your speed of learning CW. So this is the most important thing. Don't calculate anything in your head. Just write down what you hear, so you don't count anything here. Also, the conversion from the tone to the letter must happen in your brain. So if you hear dida, don't write down dida, so a short and a long one. You hear dida and you know it's an A. So dida is the melody for an A. So dida means music for A. But don't always focus just on writing. You can also focus on the visualization in some kind of head sessions. So visualize in front of your eyes. So get your pen away, just listen to this sound, to this music, and see the characters just pass by your eyes. So if there's da, da, did, da, did, da, did, you see ABC running in front of your eyes. And this helps you understanding conversations later on while doing CW on the bands. So yeah, don't only read what you write down, but also see those stuff in front of your eyes. Yeah, what is also important is writing very, very cleanly on the paper. Otherwise, you don't know what was supposed to be heard by a other station or whatever, what you wrote down. Probably my best case was writing lowercase letters only, because this is faster and you can go higher speeds then if you're going better. Then it's always good to have groups of 5, which is historically grown because all those old courses had groups of 5 and different lengths. Is also a good one. So not only groups of 5, but start off with these, and then different lengths of character sizes. So 6, 7, 8, or 2, 3 to mix them up so you don't get used to them. Also practice Q groups like QRZ or QTH with QTH with this, which is the location where a ham is located and whatever, because you will hear them very often on the band, so you get used to them. Also, yeah, special characters, not only the alphabet, but also a stroke for stroke portable, a question mark, or an equal sign is always also mandatory on the bands as you need them. So again, the repetition rate and not the length of the training sessions brings the success. And also listening to the band together as a team, as the group, or even alone if you do the stuff alone, brings the fun back. So you really see something. You go to the radio, turn it on, and hear real Morse code on the bands, and try to understand, because it's a real another feeling what you get while not only hearing stuff which is generated by a machine on your computer, smartphone, or wherever. You hear it live on the air. So again, it's like music, it's melody you learn. And yeah, CW is, so we have a lot of CW guys on the bands still. It's really a populate mode. And as I said before, it is my favorite mode because, of course, you can have snacks meanwhile you're operating, and you don't have to care about not be able to speak because it's not a mode where you can speak. It's just yeah, talking with your hands, if you can say it like this. Probably also a good tip is to record your own CW once you're able to send, and listening to it for yourself if you can hear what you send. So this is basically some tips you could follow to be successful. And yeah, find an Elma in your local club is kind of the most important thing. So you have somebody to speak to who can give you more tips and all the stuff. So again, set yourself a daily routine of about 3 to 4 times 10 minutes. 10 minutes, not more. For example, after breakfast, after dinner, after work, or before going to bed, or meanwhile during a class or whatever. And if you want to practice at home, there are some programs around also, and you can choose from them. So I want to give you a short introduction on this as well, on 3 different devices, so you can practice there as well. So I'm going to start here with the G4 Fox Oscar November Koch Method CW trainer on the computer, which is downloadable for free on the website G4FON. You can see here it's a basic trainer which brings out random calls or just rec queuing text or whatever, and you can write it down on paper next to the program and practice here, while you can actually set parameters and all the stuff here. Then we have another thing for your Android or iOS phones, which is an app from Italy Zulu 2 Uniform Foxtrot, which is also the Koch Method CW trainer, which is also for free. You see here the screenshot displayed. They started with M and K, which is the Koch Method, which I learned from. The Koch method starts with M and K, so they started here with M and K as well. So you can listen to it and type it meanwhile into your phone, or just grab a sheet of paper and then write it down and compare later on. The last thing is LCWO, which is Learn CW Online, which is also using the Koch method by DJ1YFK, Fabian from Munich, which is a web-based platform, and which is also for free, has a test login, so you don't have to register to try it out. Just use tests for a user and test for password, and then you're able to try it out, and if you like it, just continue there, which is a really, really great program from my friend. So we're gonna switch to CW Do It Yourself.
Hello and welcome to this YOTA video in which we are going to produce a Morse key. It may not come as a surprise for you that to operate CW you will normally need one of those, which you press the dits and das and then communicate through the CW. But in order to get one of those you will normally have to pay something. So we are going to make ourselves a very cheap key or pedal from basically scavenged parts. So parts that we find in our house and in our local grocery store. So in order to make ourselves this cheap Morse key, we will need some paper clips, and thereafter we will need some kind of cardboard package of your choice, and then also the fruit of your choice. We will also need one of those 3.5mm aux cables. If you want to do just a normal key, you will only need the 2-pin one, and if you want to make a pedal you will need at least a 3-pin one. That's a little bit different between the radios that one can use, but normally you need a 3-pin one to use a pedal. The tools needed for this are, as far as I'm concerned right now, one of those pliers to cut things off. You might also need a soldering iron, which might not be fully necessary if you have very clean surfaces, but if you are thinking of doing something more serious, then you might need one of those as well. And apart from that, I don't think that I will need any other tools, but if I do, I will return to them. So, the first step is that we grab our 3.5mm cable. This one is approximately 2 meters long. Of course I won't need the 2 meter length, so I will take it like this and then find the middle of it. And then I will take this middle point and cut the cable into 2 pieces. Then I will end up thinking that I don't need this one and throw it away. So with this end that I have not thrown away, I will take my cutter and make a small cut into the iso rubber here, iso plastic, and then try to get the plastic or rubber away from this cable so that I exploit the bare cables. Oops. So like that, and then inside this cable I should be able to find 3 cables. Yes, I certainly am. Okay, so this is a shielded cable as well. Then we can probably get some focus here. And I could maybe show exactly what I'm doing. If the camera want to focus, or if I can. So like that. So in here I have a red cable, a white cable, and then this shielding, which I suppose is the common ground. So those are the cables that we will use in this build, which are now once again rather unfocused. So like that. So in the next step we take our set of paper clips, and for this one, which is going to be an apple bug, we take 4 of those paper clips out, and since those paper clips are from somewhere in the 60s, they have quite a lot of oxide on them, so I'm going to clean them. So follow me. Just kidding, I'm not going to wash them yet. Of course, those paper clips have the shape of a paper clip. So what I'm first going to do is grab another set of pliers, which I think it's called that. And then I'm going to bend those out to form straight pins of them. Of course, you could also use something else than a paper clip. That would work just as fine. But right now I will only take those and make them somewhat straight. So I grab one of those and jump in the plier set. See. So now I will have a short cup of da, and then I'll be back. So for cleaning of those I will use a product called Svinto. Gör glänsande rent där andra går bet, I think. Yeah. So this is some kind of steel wool. I suppose that you can be able to find something similar or something that works just as fine in your countries. But I take this should actually be mixed with water. I don't think that I will do that, but it should be. So and then I grab those paper clips and I make them clean with this steel wool.
This is a short intermission as the paper clips are being washed in another room.
So now when we have done that, we bring in the cardboard package. So I took one of my small paper clips that I have cleaned, and I made this kind of small twist on it. This kind of small twist which is completely out of focus. So more like that maybe. Alright, so I made a twist like that on it, and then I made a hole in which I can, of course, then put it down. So this is the first part of our Apple key. Thereafter, we take another one of those paper clips, which is cleaned, and we take the pliers and try to get that one into focus. Please, not my hand, please, my wire. Correct. Alright, so make a twist and a twist, and after making a twist I do, surprise surprise, a twist, and after making that twist I do another twist. So this one will now be our common ground for the pedal, and I will install that one into the cardboard plate just as I did with the last one, and that is made with pure pressing. And if you want help, you could also take a set of pliers to press with. If you, for example, use a lot of hand sanitizer so that your hands are dry, then it can be useful to have a set of pliers ready. Then you might also discover that there is something in the box working as an obstacle for you. And it can be useful to push that one away. So like that. And now I should be able to push that one through. Yippee! Like that one. So I realized that I had forgotten a quite important part. So of course we also need to solder. I will apply, I have made sure that those paperclip parts are now sitting steady and stable into this mount. It is by no means necessary to have one of those mounts to solder, as you might already be aware of, but it makes things a lot easier. So when I'm now taking my soldering iron, I don't need to hold 3 things at a time. So I apply some solder to the paper clips. It's not rocket science, so it's also not that necessary that it's perfectly nicely done, even if it's great if it is. So like that. And this is a little bit smoky. Make sure that your smoke alarm is somewhere else than in your kitchen, if you are soldering in the kitchen, of course. Else, just make sure that the smoke alarm is somewhere else or deactivated, but then don't forget to activate it afterwards. So after some soldering, I have my cables here, which I'm going to put somewhere on this one. The only one that is really important here, that it's on a particular pin, that is the common ground one. In this particular cable, it's this one. You have to check the manual of your radio to see which one you should use, but this is then going to be the center part of the pedal. So as this is the center, I will also put that and wrap that around the center pin, and that can also be done by taking away those. So now after wrapping shielding around here, I'm going to heat the solder a bit to make sure that it's staying there. Now at least this part will be solid into the bug. So I will solder the rest of those, and then I'll be back when I'm done with that. So after now soldering all the pins here, I have made sure that all of those are attached to some part of a paper clip, and that I have the common ground in the middle. And now I'm also going to include what is known here as the main part, that is the apple itself. So here I have the apple. It's aroma apple, quite tasty if you don't use it as a key, and things broke. Erase and rewind. So now after soldering the last parts, it has been yet another time to include the main part, which is the apple. So I put the apple here in the middle, and then I stick the petals into the apple, and like this. And now after some adjustments, it's quite easily adjusted. So now I have connected the cables, and I also connected the bug to my YOTA FT1817 and D, and I'm now going to try it. I discovered that if you place those too close to each other and you have a very fresh apple, you might have some conductivity in between, so I had to place them at a distance from each other. But now I have the dit here and the da here. So
Thank you, Gustav, for providing a really nice video. If you now did or want to do your DIY Morse code following Gustav's instructions, please share your DIY Morse code picture with us due 5th of November. We will award the best looking / most creative pictures with an original YOTA beanie hat for the upcoming winter season. Please tag us on social media, HamYOTA or HamYOTA Official on Instagram, or send us an email to pierre@hamyota.com. You can always see the session after on our YouTube channel HamYOTA, so you can always follow the instructions later as well. Next, if you have came up with any questions regarding CW, please ask them on the live streams now before we answer them.
Yeah, and also shortly from my side, hello again. I'm sorry for the technical problems I had before. I hope it's working well right now. Yeah, we also have Tommy as a guest today, and he will tell us a little bit about HST. So HST stands for High Speed Telegraphy. So it's on one hand side, it's basically fast Morse code, like really, really fast Morse code. But on the other hand side, it's also the abbreviation for the HST Championship. But before we're going to watch the video we prepared with Tommy, shortly want to remind you of the riddle. So let's just quickly see the tasks again. So the Morse code, the American Morse code was invented by Samuel Morse and another person, and we want to know the initials of the other person. And then as second, we want to know how long should you learn CW on a daily basis. Like Philip mentioned, you should always like one block. So he said like, for example, 4 times of minutes, like how much of this time should you practice CW on a daily basis. And then Gustav showed us a nice DIY, and he used a fruit for doing that. And we want to know which fruit did Gustav use for this one. So keep the riddle in mind, fill out your solution in the form. And now let's hand over to Tommy, who will tell us more about HST.
Okay, hello. I'm Tommy, AJ8RT, and I would like to say some words about HST, high-speed telegraphy. We are here on the website of the 14th IARU HST World Championship, which was held in Hungary 3 years ago. And I'm using this site to present some experience, some knowledge about it. And you can also browse on this website. This is hst2017.org. Well, HST basically consists of 4 events for every competitor. The first is the receiving tests. It's made from 3 parts, letters, numbers, and mixed characters. Also with some marks like full stop, comma, slash, question mark, and the question mark. And the competitors have to do these receiving tests at different speeds, what they can achieve. And every test is for 1 minute. If they can copy it, then they can go to the next speed, basically. And the highest speed they can copy under 5 errors is the one which counts. So the second test is the transmitting test, where the competitors have to go through these 3 parts again. I mean the letters, numbers, and the mixed characters. And this test is also 1 minute long for every competitor, and they have to achieve as the highest number of characters transmitted in 1 minute as they can. And it can only contain a maximum of 3 mistakes which are not corrected. You can make corrections in transmission, but of course you lose the time, so there are different tactics about it, how to manage your 1 minute and your speed. The third test is the Rufzeichen. It's a German developed program. The name means call sign, basically, and it means that the participants have to go through 2 sessions maximum, and both sessions are made up from 50 call signs, and they have to receive these call signs. You might know this program. You can download it from rufzxp.net, and if you receive a call sign correctly, the speed increases. If you receive it incorrectly, then the speed decreases, and then you have the chance to receive the next call sign correctly if the speed decreases. The fourth part is Morse Runner. It can be also downloaded from the web, from dxatlas.com/Morse Runner. It's like an on-air contest simulator program. It has a special type of competition for HST, where you don't have to call the CQ because there are continuously 4 stations calling you. So you only have to receive the call signs and the reports correctly, and of course at the highest speeds as you can. Okay, so this is the introduction. Of course, you can find the whole set of rules. This is basically a long list of laws and regulations. But what I would like to show you is the records page. At the records page, at the receiving, you can find samples about the speed. So for example, the letters receiving for females is 300 characters per minute, and you can find a sample video here, which you can listen to, how 300 letters per minute, so roughly 5 characters per second sound like. And of course, you can find the other records here listed as well. There are some photos, video galleries, so you can browse through this if you are interested. And we also have some videos from Lena, AJ6 Alpha Alpha, which we would like to show. So one more word about the World Championships. It's basically held every year in a different country. This year it was cancelled because of coronavirus. It should have been held in Mongolia, but they resigned in the spring, and we couldn't find a host for the HST World Championship in the last part of the year as well. It's normally between 80 and 100 competitors from many countries in the IARU Region 1, and sometimes also from other regions. Basically, the center of activity is also in Europe, and more like in the old Eastern countries, but also from Germany, Switzerland, Italy. There are many competitors, and if it's held in Europe, like Hungary, Bulgaria, Germany, Poland, you can also travel there for a visitor. It's easy to travel within Europe normally if you don't have this coronavirus situation. But we also have discussions about the World Championships outside of Europe. Like it was held in Kazakhstan once, and it should have been held in Mongolia this year, but unfortunately it was cancelled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Tommy, for showing us also the website and the short introduction you gave about HST. We also received some questions in general about HST and high-speed telegraphy. And one was, for example, how to become more efficient in HST or in general in like fast Morse code, like how to increase that.
Well, what I can say is, of course, practice, and practice, but there are different techniques what you can use. What I really liked when I was a starter in HST was Morse Runner, and it's a bit also like closer to the real life example, because it's it's basically making QSOs, but with a computer. I would say sometimes it's also easier than on the air, because on the air you get different questions, and on the simulator you have simple QSOs. Contesting on the air, it also makes you faster and more efficient, because and I think it's also easier because you only have to receive the call signs and the reports. And then of course, like rack chewing on the air, if you are at a higher speed or higher level, you can listen to podcasts in Morse code. You can use online tools like lcwo.net for different kinds of practices. But if you are a starter with CW, I would say you should start with the numbers, because you can have this feeling of success with the numbers more easily. because there are less numbers, there are fewer numbers, and they are easier to remember than a lot of letters. And then you can go gradually in your own pace, so you don't have to rush. And then if you know everything, like the basics, there are these tools which I mentioned, like the programs for receiving within 1 minute. Also, LCWO knows this, the Rufzeichen and the Morse runner. So it's practice, basically, what I can advise.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, are they categories only for youngsters?
Yeah, there are categories for youngsters. I think under 16 years old, there's this category A and B. Every category has a male and female type, I would say. And A and B is under 16. And from 16 to 21 is C and D. C for girls and D for boys. And unfortunately, there is no category. I mean, if you get 21 years old, you will get into the E and F, which is until 40 years old. So you will get into the category of the males and females, because these rules are a lot older than the idea of YOTA. It goes back to 40, 50 years, and this age limit age categories haven't changed much. But under 21, yeah, there are categories for youngsters.
Okay, cool. So at least for the really younger ones, they have also nice categories for them. Yeah, I think you already answered the questions about how it is actually organized and like the regularity of the championship. So I think we can skip this question. But we got another one. Can you describe how this high-speed CW sounds like? Like for me, it's basically just like a and I don't know, like how does this like high-speed CW sound for you? Can you describe that? Or is it the same probably?
Well, yes and no. Everybody has a limit of speed where it sounds like RTTY, but this also sounds like a rhythm which you recognize. You might know that at slower speeds you should also recognize the rhythm of the characters and not like count the dash and dots, because it doesn't make sense if you want to get better at it. So you should learn about the rhythms of the characters, and then afterwards there are rhythms of the words. So if you hear a prit, then for some people it's a word where they recognize the rhythm of the word, and then they know the letters or the numbers in it. And for some people it's like a prit, and then they don't know anything about it because they just don't feel the difference between feel the distance between the letters and the numbers. And that's where you can get better, because if you practice, you will push this threshold up, the speed, and then you will be surprised that you will also recognize things which you have never thought of that you would ever recognize, like at higher speeds. I don't know if I answered your question correctly, or if it made any sense.
That was definitely a good answer.
Okay, thank you for this answer. And we got another question, and that's, what can you do as a youngster to be part of HST?
Well, for first, there are different answers. It depends on where you are from. If you are if you are from an Eastern European country, let's say like the old eastern part of Europe, there is most probably a well-functioning HST part of your society, and you can contact them. If you are from some Western countries like England and France, we don't have much information about them because they are not really active in HST. But there also should be somebody at the society who knows about HST, who you can contact. And then basically, if you cannot contact anybody, you can still contact like us, and I can also answer your questions. And you can also take part in the championships if you don't have anybody else from your society. And we also encourage people to do so, because you can also get involved in the championships if you are not like selected by your society, but you want to come, and then we welcome everybody. So it shouldn't be in a really strict manner. But we welcome everybody who would like to join the championships.
Okay, yeah, cool. So at least I first need to practice a lot before I can go to HST. But yeah, maybe that's also interesting for some out there.
I wouldn't really say this. Of course, you have to be at some level where it's worth coming. It's also worth coming if you want to come as a visitor, because there is also a chance to visit a new country with your friends or somebody, or just on your own if you want to come to Hungary later or some stuff like this. But if you want to take part in the championship, yeah, you have to at least know these like this type of competitions. We can also make an introduction later about it. And yeah, you have to be at a certain level. Like, well, there are some kids in our team who learn the numbers and the letters, and then we send them to the competition because they get the experience and everything, like the local competition. But we wouldn't send them to the World Championship because you have to be at a higher level to make to feel yourself good, like to feel that you have achieved something. And also like, I don't really know much about it, but like the smaller kids can get kind of lost about if you go to the foreign country and you have to do some stuff yourself, because you have to practice this, you have to know the schedule, you have to go after your own stuff. Of course you get the help from the teammates and the team leader, but also the kids who are like 14, 16, 18 are these are the bigger ones. They are more like self-going, but the smaller ones like 8, 10, 12, they need somebody to help them, because it's a big event with a lot of stuff to do. So yeah, I don't know if you understand it or if I could describe it properly, but yeah, something
cool.
like.
Yeah, no, that's all fine. I think I got your point. Well, I have another question that, like, more or less to you personally. As far as I know, you can bring your own key to HST, and I think most of them are using the like single pedal. I think it's called a key. But what's the pedal are you using, or how's the situation on like the pedal situation? What's the most common one, or which one are you using?
Yeah. So yeah, you can bring your own keys to the competitions, and even your own. There are some. So if your key doesn't include the soundboard to make the Morse codes, you can also bring your own one, and then you can show it to the referees. They will accept it for transmission, and then you can use it. But there is an interesting rule that we cannot use our own headphones, because there were incidents about it that the referees found headphones with devices which would make the Morse code slower. So we have to use the same headphones every competitor, which is provided by the organizers. And yeah, as for your question, I think the most common key is this Belarusian type, which you saw or will see on the video from Lena, and there are also some national types. Some people use Bengalis. We in Hungary use a Hungarian manufacturer's key. Maybe I will found it. This guy's call sign is yeah, this one, Morse keys. And these types, these are made by Hungarian guys. They are also sold in Friedrichshafen every year when Friedrichshafen is held. There are single levers, double levers, and this interesting type with one single and two the twin paddles. This kind circle. So there are many different kinds, and of course there are many other types which you normally don't see on the market because they are from some older folks construction or self-made, etc.
Okay, yeah, cool. Thank you for your answer on this one. And I think there's like one more question, but yeah, we can hand that to Martina.
Okay, thank you. So the last question is, do you have or do you know some fun facts about HST?
I don't really know what you mean under fun facts. I have said some facts, and you can
like,
also
do you have
read
some interesting story, for example?
Yeah, there is like one interesting story which comes from my mind. It's from my teammate. He's an older guy, and when I was first time in HST World Championship in Montenegro, we started. So for me it was everything was new, but for them it was a new reception program, and then everybody got the instructions how to use it and everything, and we got also the meeting before the reception, and he didn't understand English properly and he misunderstood the instructions. And you have to know that the reception works like you have to select 10 speeds maximum what you want to listen to, and then you listen to these 10 different speeds and try to write it down. But he only and you have to tick this from the lists from the list of speeds, and but he only ticked the first speed and the last speed. So he listened to one telegram at 70 characters per minute, which is kind of slow. And then you listen to the second telegram at 170 characters per minute, and then he was really surprised that he didn't get the missing ones, and then he went there and complained about it, but we couldn't do anything because he misunderstood the instructions, and it was really annoying for him and really funny for us because we knew how to use the program, but he misunderstood it. Yeah, that's like a funny story. Of course there are many, but I don't know what else can come to my mind for this question. So there are some technical peculiarities, yeah.
Okay, so I think what we also learned here is listen to the instructions and make sure you understand them. So it's also important for HST. Yeah, I think that's it with the questions. Thank you, Tommy, for answering, and thank you also for showing us all the interesting stuff and facts about HST.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Wanda, again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tommy, for really an interesting, absolutely interesting part of HST. Now with the questions. We actually get one question regarding the learning CW part of the session. So Philip, could you please show us the apps once more? We got asked that what were the CW apps that we showed before in the event.
Sure, no problem, Ottawa, thanks. The first one was the computer application, which is for free from G4FON, which is the Koch method CW trainer, as seen here within the screen. G4FON. Just type this into any search engine on the internet and you will be redirected to this page where you can download it for free. We also have India Zulu 2 Uniform Foxtrot, which is one of many apps. So we are not paid to do any advertisement on this, but we just searched for an example each. So Italy Zulu 2 Uniform Fox Koch method CW app for Android and iOS, also for free, downloadable in any app store or Play Store. And also probably the easiest way, just to log in on a website, lcw.net, Learn CW Online, from DJ1YFK with a test login.
Thank you really much. And remember that you can always rewatch the session and see those again if you need to. Next, could you show us when was the deadline to send pictures of DIY Morse keys?
Okay, so the deadline is the 5th of November. So from today, 1 week, at 23:59 UTC, we will award the best looking or most creative way of doing this this fruit key, let's call it like this. And you will get a YOTA beanie hat for the upcoming winter season from us. So just tag us on social media at HamYOTA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, HamYOTA official, or just send us an email with the picture attached to pr@ham-yota.com. And here's the example picture, what we exactly want to see from Gustav, who made the video earlier. So he had connected his little YARU radio together with his Apple Morse key attached to a cardboard from another radio. So kind of creative. So do we have any more questions?
Well, we didn't got any questions anymore, but there was Rico mentioning something really nice, what we didn't mention here yet, because he's trying to learn the Japanese Morse code. And I think that's pretty interesting because, the Japanese has a different alphabet, and they also do have actually a Morse code for this alphabet. I think they also, of course, use the international Morse codes to communicate with others, but maybe there are also still some who use the Japanese Morse code, which I think is also really interesting. And as I know, there's also something, for example, for the Cyrillic alphabet. So that's probably also really interesting to know.
That's basically also on the bands on the air. You hear that really often, that Russians racked you with the Cyrillic alphabet on Morse code, and that was only once that I heard Japanese operators chatting around with Japanese Morse code, but this was still very funny and great to listen to.
Yeah, exactly. So a short side mark also here. And that's also with the questions. We didn't really got many this time. But it's time to see the solution for a riddle one. We got some people at least answering it, but let's just quickly look at the solution. So the second guy beside Samuel Morse was Alfred Whale. So we're looking for AV. And Philip told us to do CW 10 minutes at best case like 4 times 10 minutes, but at least try to get 10 minutes per day doing a little bit of CW. And yeah, Gustav showed us how to do a really nice Apple key. I think that's really interesting. And since I don't really have a pedal at home, just a straight key, I'm going to try out doing this and as well, of course. So in the end, we get to the more or less solution call sign AV10 Apple. And yeah, before we're going to check out the prize draw, I'll show you riddle number 2, which will be now after the session. You will have time again until Sunday evening, midnight UTC, and or 23:59 UTC. So this time it's a riddle. I don't really want to say anything about it. You have yeah, this picture here with animals, and yeah, it's also your task to probably find out what you can do with it, what kind of code there is, or yeah, how this riddle actually work. So look at it, get a little bit creative, try to find out what we want to know, and then fill in the solution you find on riddle 2 of the Google form. We're looking forward to your answers, and of course there will be also a prize draw for riddle 2, and this will be a hoodie in your favorite color, and of course in your size, and hopefully the winner will be you. So check out this riddle and yeah, send us the answers. And now we come to the prize draw for riddle 1 for this session. So let's see who's going to be the winner. Okay, I see it's Jamie, Mike 0, Sierra Delta Victor. Congratulations, you're going to get a t-shirt from our shop. We will contact you by email. And if I remember right, I know this call sign from our December YOTA month activities. So nice to see you watching this evening. And yeah, that's also now at this time for the riddle. I'm going to hand over in the end to shortly say the upcoming events to Philip.
So we're gonna continue with the upcoming events. As one of the last slides tonight. Of course, YOTA Online Session 7 is upcoming on Thursday, 26th of November, 2020, again at 1900 UTC. So 19 UTC because of the winter time, which is now taking place. The main topic with this next topic will be the expeditions in the next session. So we're gonna talk about the expeditions in general, as well as youngsters attending those the expeditions already. So we will have some guests again talking about their experiences from the expeditioner side, as well as from the other side, working and chasing the expeditions from your home station. The next big thing from YOTA is also December YOTA month, DYM activity taking place from the 1st to the 31st of December. So it's only 1 month to go, and let's see how many QSOs we can do this time. Like we achieved 130,000 QSOs together, so contacts between amateur radio stations in 2019. Let's see how many we can do this year, probably 150,000, we will see. And if you want to be active and want to operate a YOTA suffix station in your member society, just contact your national society, your youth coordinator, or if you don't know who it is, just drop us an email at pr@ham-yota.com, and we will find out for you and help you out there. And also get in contact with your society if they did not register a call sign yet. So just poke them. As you see here, from today we have 9 stations registered. So last year we had around 40, so still a few to go. So we have a station from Germany, United Kingdom, Hungary, Italy, the Netherlands, Sweden, and France already. So poke your societies to register their call signs, and yeah, hope to see you later then. So in the end, we also got the session closing for the last few minutes. We would like to let you follow our profiles on social media, as well as we appreciate your feedback a lot, either on social media, direct message, just comment under the streams, or again, write us an email to pr@ham-yota.com. We are QRV, so we are able to be contacted on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and even on TikTok, as well as on Instagram at HamYOTA_official. So many thanks again for joining this session tonight. It was a pleasure to having you tonight, and hope to catch up with you next time in about a month. And we will post Riddle 2 again on social media tomorrow, so you will have the chance also to solve this riddle and win a nice YOTA hoodie with this one. And don't forget, send us your do-it-yourself Morse keys and win a YOTA hat, a YOTA beanie from our shop. Many thanks again for joining tonight, and hope to see you later. Thanks in behalf of the whole YOTA Online team. Bye-bye, and 73.